You can tell when it's starting to get hot outside. That's when the craziness starts. That's when people start wilding. Unnecessary fights take place. Arguments that wouldn't happen in the wintertime, they happen. That's when you know it's getting hot outside. People get aggravated. You've heard this before, man. Oh, it's the summertime. People don't know how to act during the summertime. That's because it's hot as shit outside. Well, I think we're at that point of the year, or the point of the summer, where it's starting to get hot outside. And people are starting to show their ass. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 187th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. As I told you, I'm going to make this a practice. First person in the comment section gets a shout out. Asan Moore, what's good? Thank you for joining me here on the Louie T Network podcast. Greatly appreciate you, Asan Moore. Big ups to my man, Asan. So, I want to start this show off with some sad news, man. We knew this was going to happen. I should have given him the Marty Schottenheimer treatment, and I meant to, and it just slipped my mind. But famed Florida State Seminoles former head coach, Bobby Bowden passed away, I believe on Saturday, I think it was. Feels like 2 days ago now, maybe Friday. I think it was Saturday, though. They had talked about him essentially being in hospice and, you know, those who loved him gathering around and kind of, you know, getting to say their final goodbyes. And that was like a week ago. So he hung in there for a little while longer, and he finally passed, lived a long life. How old did he end up being? I think, 91, I think? Let me check. Let's see how long Bobby Bowden. I'm going to put him at 91, man. One of my favorite college coaches. Loved the Southern drawl he had. He was... No, he didn't make it to 91. Wow, I was way off. Yeah, I was right. 91. Yeah, I was right. Made it to 91. And he died on the 8th. So that was yesterday. It felt like Saturday, but apparently it was Sunday. And I loved Bobby Bowden growing up. Like I said, loved the Florida State Seminoles program and what they stood for. Now, I'm not saying they did everything by the book, and I'm not saying that Bobby Bowden himself, because I see Dabo Swinney as a watered-down version of Bobby Bowden, but with less coaching chops. But that same Southern drawl, that guy that tries to appeal to you with that down-home Southern charm, I can't stand. It's crazy because I loved Bobby Bowden. I can't stand Dabo Swinney. He really irks my nerves, but that's another discussion for another day. Bobby Bowden, man, was a legendary coach. And what was a tremendous era for the legendary college football coaches. I don't feel like we're cultivating those guys anymore because nobody stays at a program long enough to become one of these larger-than-life figures. Obviously, Nick Saban is in the process of doing that at Alabama, but he was at LSU before that. And look, Bobby Bowden was at Florida State forever. Lou Holtz was at Notre Dame forever. And, you know, Bo Schembechler was at Michigan forever. And, you know, the list goes on and on. You go through the different programs and their legendary coaches. Woody Hayes at Ohio State. Jim Tressel looked like he was going to be that guy at Ohio State. Then he had the controversy, and he ended up no longer ball. You know, you're using this job to get to the next job. And, you know, when the boosters become dissatisfied, you're fired after 5 years. And so it just seems like we won't get many more coaches to do what Bobby Bowden did, which was stay at a program forever and build it up into one of the national powers of college football. And that program, honestly, has never been the same since he's left. I mean, they did win with Jimbo Fisher, but they lost the national championship to, I want to say they won. They beat Auburn. I think that was Jameis Winston and Kelvin Benjamin, and Winston hitting him for the game-winning touchdown to beat Auburn that year, if I'm not mistaken. But after that, the programs pretty much went downhill. Right now, it's a program that it's almost in the Tennessee category where you used to be good. We don't even respect you anymore. They're going down that path right now as we speak. They need to turn it around quickly, or we'll look at them like Tennessee. Oh, you used to be good. But in any event, Bobby Bowden, 91 years old, famed coach, and one of the better characters in all of college football. May he rest in paradise. So we're going to get into today's show and talk about a number of different topics. I don't want to waste a ton of time. I'm actually pressed for time, so we're going to get straight to the proceedings this evening. You know what it is. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, Hall of Fame ceremony was awesome this weekend. And I was wondering, did I miss something? Did they change up the format? I didn't realize it was 2 days long now because the Hall of Fame game is no longer on Sunday. They moved it to Thursday, so now they have 2 days to celebrate these guys. I didn't realize they were doing it. Then I realized, oh, duh, that's right. They didn't have one last year because of COVID, so they had to recognize the guys that were in the 2020 Hall of Fame class, which was on Saturday night, and then they recognized the guys that were in the 2021 Hall of Fame class, and that was last night. So I thought it was pretty cool how they ended up doing it. It was a great weekend. You know, that's actually one of the better Hall of Fame weekends because you got a 2-for-1 special. If you went to Canton this weekend, you got 2 Hall of Fame classes in one weekend. That to me is a reason to go. You know, but in any event, I thought the guys that were enshrined, some of them had excellent speeches. I love some of the way that they were, you know, because sometimes you get these guys that are really serious, like Ray Lewis and Michael Irvin. You know, they up there crying, and look, everybody's got their story, but that's not my Hall of Fame speech. That's not the kind of one I want to watch. Give me the guy that's salty, like Isaac Bruce was. You know, the MJ speech. I don't want it to be MJ-esque. MJ took it too far. He was going back and going after dudes from high school but I want that guy. Give me that guy that's salty, that you can tell he's still bitter about a guy that said he couldn't make it, and that was the chip he put on his shoulder, and that's what helped him make it to the Hall of Fame. Isaac Bruce was like, you know, in the words of rap legend Kumo D, how you like me now? Apparently a guy told him when he was, you know, coming out of college and trying to get into the NFL via the draft, no one was checking for him, and he wasn't going to get drafted, and he wasn't any good. So he put that chip on his shoulder, and that powered his dream of getting to the NFL, and not only getting to the NFL, but ultimately becoming a Hall of Fame type of player. Edgerrin James, one of my favorite running backs of the last 2 decades was Edge. I think one of the more underrated running backs was Edgerrin James. People don't realize we talk about Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, but they were a big 3. You know, when we talk about the big 3 in Indianapolis, people always just gloss over Edge's contribution to the Indianapolis Colts. There is no Indianapolis Colts without Edgerrin James. They don't win the way that they did. He helped build them into the power that they became. Peyton Manning was the engine that made them go, but don't forget about Edgerrin James and his contribution. And a lot of these running backs came up in the game wanting to be like Edge. A lot of those Miami dudes just had that swag and air about them that made the younger generation grow up wanting to be like them. Sean Taylor is in that same category. Edge was that guy at the running back position that a lot of these young running backs, he was the guy with that hop, step, jump. You know, that little skip, the little hesitation. Le'Veon Bell built upon that, but it was Edge who started that. So, hold on. I see we got a ass in the comment section. All right. So let's see. Let me get him out of here. Thank you, Gerald P. I appreciate that. And I don't see any mods in here. This is why you need mods to take care of this and get rid of these people. All right. Hopefully that'll be the last of that. All right. Anyway, I digress. So, made me lose my damn train of thought, what I was saying. Back to scheduled programming. Thank you, Mega412. So, Edge was one of those dudes that I thought transcended the game a bit, pushed it forward with his style of running. And I just love that he's finally being celebrated, because I felt like he was kind of getting swept under the rug, so to speak. So it was good to see him finally get in and be celebrated, because I thought he had a very decorated career. And I love what the Indianapolis Colts did, because if you remember, he wasn't there when they finally got over the hump and won the Super Bowl. Joseph Adai was the running back then. They gave him a Super Bowl ring too, because they knew he helped build them into that power that ultimately finally got over the hump back in, what was it, 05, I believe it was. So Edge finally gets in, and his last line, I thought it was a beautiful one-liner to end his Hall of Fame speech, which was, I started with gold teeth and I ended with this gold jacket, and he pulled his jacket open. Thought that was pretty dope. So a lot of guys stepped up to the mic, had some great one-liners. Peyton Manning had a jab at Ray Lewis where he was talking about, Ray Lewis just finished up his speech that started back in 2018, which it was a pretty damn long speech. But, he thinks he's a pastor and he's giving a sermon. So he was up there forever. But I thought some of the busts were excellent last night. You had Troy Polamalu's bust, which I thought was fantastic with that free-flowing hair. Edge's bust with the short dreads, dope and spot on. You get those every now and again where those busts look like just like the guy. You can see it right in their face. You go, man, that guy did a tremendous job with that bust. So you had that. I didn't even realize. My fiance was like, is it Calvin Johnson getting in the Hall of Fame? I said, nah, man, he just retired. He probably got another year or two. Heavens to Megatron did get in last night. So I was off on that. I don't know how I managed to miss that. I thought he had like maybe another year before he was eligible, but yeah, he got in last night too. So it was a star-studded class. Charles Woodson got in. He was singing to his mom. I thought it was well done. I thought it was outstanding. And everything was going great until we got to the very end of the Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. Everything was going well for me until I get to the end, and then they tell me, here are the guys that are going to be eligible for the first time in 2022. So I'm expecting to see real Hall of Fame caliber guys. And so I see Steve Smith Sr., I see Anquan Bolden. I see Andre Johnson. I see Robert Mathis. I see DeMarcus Ware. I'm like, yeah, those guys have Hall of Fame resumes. But those guys weren't the first names on the list. You knew who was at the top of the damn list? Tony effing Romo. Tony effing Romo headed the list of guys that are first time eligible in 2022. And I thought to myself, Tony Romo? What's his name doing up there? He's not a damn Hall of Fame quarterback. I hope what doesn't happen here, because this shit happens, we see it all the time, a guy becomes a member of the media, people fall in love with him, and all of a sudden they take his career and make it into something that it wasn't. Tony Romo did not have a Hall of Fame career. He was a damn good quarterback. He was not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He was not a Hall of Fame player. They can't just be letting anybody in. You got to draw the line somewhere. This is what I was talking about. This is what Deion Sanders was talking about. You have to draw the line somewhere. everybody can't get in. I don't care how nice of a guy he is, how likable he is. Tony Romo, his second act is awesome. We love him as a play-by-play guy, or excuse me, as an analyst. We love what he's doing with Jim Nantz. Think he's fantastic during the broadcast. You don't add that into his football playing career. The two are separated. Tony Romo wasn't a winner, not in the playoffs. Tony Romo never won anything of substance. Tony Romo had some really good seasons. Tony Romo is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. I can't state that enough. The fact that he headed that list annoys me, as you can tell. It bothers me to no end. Let's hope it stops there, and that the Hall of Fame voters are smart enough to be able to tell the difference between a guy that had a really good career and is having an even better post-career and a guy that actually has Hall of Fame credentials, because Tony Romo does not. First and foremost, you got to win when it matters most. He didn't do that. But even because I don't like to do it that way. I don't even like to minimize the conversation because Dan Marino didn't win a Super Bowl. But Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And if you're not going to win in the postseason when it matters most, you damn well better be one of the greatest we've ever seen. To take our mind off of the fact that you didn't win when it mattered most. That's not Tony Romo. So don't you dare put him and Dan Marino in the same cup. Well, Dan Marino didn't win. Dan Marino is one of the best pure passers of the football in NFL history. That's not Tony Romo. Please spare me. And I was the biggest Tony Romo advocate out there. I used to try to talk Cowboys fans off the ledge like, you understand he's the best quarterback you've had since Troy Aikman. You do realize that. And I used to have to tell them this all the time because they would be so pissed off after another failed Tony Romo late game disaster. They'd be pissed off. Another opportunity for Dallas to win something meaningful and they'd fall short. And I'd just bring up Quincy Carter, Chad Hutchinson, Drew Henson. I could keep going. Vinny Testaverde. Don't make me keep going. Drew Bledsoe. Don't stop me. Because I can keep going. Please stop me, I should say. Because I can keep going. But I said all of that to say this. He is not a Hall of Fame player. I hope that whomever makes these decisions doesn't just let him in because Tony's a good guy and we really like him. And he's doing a hell of a job as a analyst. Let's not do that. Please. Don't water down the Hall of Fame, because if you let Tony Romo in, you're opening Pandora's box. Because now you got to let in. You should be letting in a bunch of guys. So, anyway, I digress. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I thought it was a great weekend for the Hall of Fame, one of the better ones in recent memory. And that last part really irked my nerves when I saw Tony Romo at the top of the list of guys eligible. He should have been, I don't mind him being on the list. He shouldn't have been the first name, though. He should have been, just because he's a quarterback, don't put him at the top of the goddamn list. He should have been all the way towards the bottom. Because all those other guys I just named, Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden, all of those guys have better resumes. Has Tony Romo ever been an All-Pro in this league? I'd like to know. I could be wrong. He might have been a 2-time All-Pro. I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Anyway, I digress. Not going to talk your head off about that. That was just something that really got to me. But as a Washington fan, we still over here waiting for Joe Jacoby to get it. It's ridiculous. Anyway, let me get off of my soapbox and get y'all to this first break. I thank you guys for joining me here on the Louie T Network podcast, episode 187. We'll take this quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side and we'll jump into In Case You Missed It. See you guys here in a second. I I want to take this time to thank Manscaped for sponsoring the Louie T Network podcast. Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston, do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you've got zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than a Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that is just taken off not only in the US, but Canada, the UK, and across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their 4.0 lawnmower trimmer, weed whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 lawnmower trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on your journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. You see what we did there? This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on and off switch which can engage a travel lock and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Pause. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets on their A game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code LouieT at manscaped.com. For a clean Trinity and beyond, your space balls will thank you. Welcome back to the 187th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I do have a couple of super chats that I want to get to. Let me knock these out real quick before we get into In Case You Missed It. Captain Spartan 04 writes, first of all, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Captain, who writes, with Jags shopping CJ Henderson, Steelers Jags trade that won't happen. Justin Lane, James Washington, and Haskins for Henderson, Duran Gray, and Josh Jones. You're right, it won't happen. I don't think Urban Meyer is a massive fan of Dwayne Haskins, so I know he's not going to trade for him. And we're going to talk about a couple of guys in that comment you just made, James Washington being one of them, CJ Henderson another. So that's a great segue to the next segment that we're going to do, because 2 of those guys are in that this segment that we're about to jump into. But yes, you're right, that trade won't happen. You could use a CJ Henderson. I don't know what exactly is wrong with him. We'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting development from over the weekend. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you as always. My guy BD holding it down, writes, preach on it, Lou. I feel the same way about Romo. I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. I just hope they don't make a mistake there, because That's the kind of mistake that will really turn me off to the Hall of Fame if he somehow finds a way in. And I don't care if it's 20 years down the road he finally gets in. I'm still going to be pissed off because he's not a Hall of Fame player. You know, you got to draw the line somewhere. So we'll see what happens. And Captain Spartan 04, double up, thank you for doubling up, Captain Spartan 04. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Steeler Nation showed out. I nearly cried with Troy. They definitely showed out. And for good reason. There were two of their guys getting in Alan Faneca and with Troy Polamalu. So with two guys getting in, that was all the more reason for the Steeler Nation to show up in droves, and they did. And that's the reason that they were in the Hall of Fame game, because they were having one of their guys get in. Same with Dallas. They had a guy getting in Drew Pearson. So you knew that the Steeler Nation, they show up when they don't even have a reason to. And they had a reason to show up over the weekend, and they showed up and showed out. So thank you guys for those super chats. If you haven't already done so, please do me a huge solid and go ahead and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell, and most importantly, hit the like button. So, all right, yep, hitting Rain Pac-Man D3. You're right, I forgot one, and Cowher as well. Head coach Bill Cowher got in as well. Totally forgot all about him. So yes, 3 of them and their famed coach. So they had a reason to show out. For sure. Captain Spartan says 4 and Donnie Shell. I forgot about Donnie Shell. I didn't even see any of his speech, to be honest with you. So totally forgot about him. But that's 4, as you mentioned. So they had every reason to show up and show out, and they did in a major, major way. Thank you guys for catching my mistake there. Really do appreciate you guys. So, in case you missed it, Xavier Howard staying in Miami. I talked about this a bunch on the podcast, and I told you guys what the outcome would be. I said he's not going anywhere. He's not going to be traded. None of this is going to materialize into anything other than him getting a little bit of a peace offering, if you will. Remember what happened with Julio once upon a time in Atlanta when he was disgruntled about his contract. Still had like 2 or 3 years left, and Falcons was like, dude, you still got bread left on your plate though. You still got food to eat. He's like, but this ain't enough. Okay, I'm looking around. I see dudes making more than me. They got more food on their plate than I do. I need more on my plate. So they had to give him a little something, a little hush-hush money just to make him feel good. And that's what they did. And I said, I can't see the Miami Dolphins parting ways with one of the most integral parts of their defense. Now, you got to keep in mind who their head coach is. Had this been some other organization where they don't really value the cornerback position as much, or they wanted to make a hardline stance, we just paid you, we're not giving you anything else, he might have got shipped out. But you got to understand their head coach is Brian Flores. He came from New England. New England puts a premium on the cornerback position, more so than any other position on defense. Okay, Flores is a defensive-minded guy. He coached with Bill Belichick, who wins with star corners. That's always been his thing. 2 constants in New England throughout Belichick's reign of terror over the AFC and the NFL. Tom Brady and a dominant corner. And we've gone through the list of corners already, so I'm not going to do that again. But Flores was there for that. He understands the importance of the cornerback position. That's why they went out and they signed Byron Jones. Problem is, Byron Jones was making more money than Xavier Howard. That's where the problem lied, and that's why I always talk about making sure you take care of those in the locker room first, and that you don't overspend for guys outside the locker room, because guys inside the locker room then start to feel some type of way. That's how we got here with Xavier Howard. He looks across the field at Byron Jones, who just got there, who he probably thinks is not even half the corner that I am. I just got 10 interceptions last year, and this guy's making more money than me. Are you crazy? Something's wrong with this picture. And the Dolphins are like, dude, we just paid you last year. Not 2-3 years ago. Last year. You still got 4 years left on your deal. Are you crazy? He's like, I'm not crazy. What's crazy is I had 10 interceptions, and the guy that just got here is getting more money than me. That's crazy. And the Dolphins said, hey, he got a point. We don't want to give him any more money, but he's got a point. He was here since his rookie season. We drafted him here, and he's been nothing but spectacular when he's been healthy. And we paid a guy that's been really good, but not as good as him, more money. He's right. We effed up. So how do you make a effed up situation right? You find a way to make amends. You meet in the middle somewhere. So that's what the Dolphins essentially did. So they gave him $1 million, or they put a clause in his contract now. They amended it so that if he makes the Pro Bowl this year, that's an additional $1 million. So he's betting on himself to perform at the level that he did last year and really the years prior to that. Also, $3.5 million in additional incentives that he can reach if he hits certain watermarks throughout the course of the season. They rescinded all the fines that he accrued during OTAs. Remember, the new CBA states that you cannot rescind fines during training camp that are incurred, but you can rescind fines that are incurred during off-season activities. So they did that. And so ultimately, his contract that I think was somewhere, or his number this year was somewhere in the $11-12 million range, I believe, is now at a max of $16.2 million if he hits all of those incentives. Also, and this is what you have to note as well, it's not just about 2021, it's also about next year as well. In 2022, Howard gets $500,000 in a per game roster bonus. So in per game roster bonuses, so for every game that he plays in, he gets an additional $500,000 in addition to the base salary that he's getting for each said game. So let's just say for shits and giggles, he's making $1.5 million per game next season. Each check that he gets is $1.5 million. Well, for every game that he plays, he'll get an additional $500K, which would bump that $1.5 to $2 million each and every single week that he gets paid. Then on top of that, he's got a $100,000 workout bonus that and guarantees that turns into a guarantee next season. So instead of him having to come to OTAs and be at all the workouts to get that money, he's going to automatically get that money. Also, the full amount of his 2022 $12.975 million that was only guaranteed for injury, that's now fully guaranteed on the very first day of the start of the new league year next year. So, you know, the day that we get free agency and everything starts to the start of the new league year, all of that money becomes guaranteed money. He doesn't have to wait on that money, and it's not just there for insurance purposes in case he gets hurt. That's his money that's going into his pocket now. So they met in the middle somewhere, and I told you that this was going to happen. They weren't going to get rid of Xavier Howard. He's too good of a player at too premium of a position for the Miami Dolphins. They want to have any chance of doing what they did last year. They need Xavier Howard, and they need him healthy and playing at the level that he was playing at last year, and they need him to be happy. So they took care of that, figured that they would. In case you missed it, Darius Leonard, a guy that we talked about when Fred Warner got his 5-year, $95 million deal with 40 of it guaranteed. We talked about Darius Leonard, the maniac, as they call him. And we said, he's next. He'll be the next one in line to get his deal. And when he gets his, he'll be the new highest paid inside linebacker in the league. And here we are. 5 years, $99.2 million with 52.5 of it guaranteed for Darius Leonard. Look, I don't have any qualms about either of those guys getting broken off. Both of these guys are extremely good football players, some of the best at their respective position. You could argue that Darius Leonard is the best in the AFC and that Fred Warner is the best in the NFC, and I don't know if you'd get much pushback from anybody. So the two best, or two of the better inside linebackers, I think the two best inside linebackers in football just got paid back-to-back in Fred Warner and now Darius Leonard. Congratulations to him And the thing about his deal that is so lovely is, unlike Fred Warner's deal, and I'm not shitting on Fred Warner's deal, 95 million and 40 and a half or whatever it was guaranteed. That's tremendous life-changing money. That's generational wealth that he's acquired there from that deal. But Darius Leonard's deal is even more staggering and impressive because Darius Leonard is getting over 50% of his deal fully guaranteed. That's how you want to, if I'm a player, that's how I want to kind of construct my deal. 99 million, 52 of it guaranteed. You can do the math. 100, half of 100 is 50. He didn't make it to 100 and he's getting over 50 million guaranteed. So you're talking about every bit of 54, 55% of his deal fully guaranteed. That Fred Warner didn't get that. Not saying that diminishes his deal at all. I'm just saying, man, this makes Darius Leonard's deal that much greater and sweeter. Big time deal for him. Happy for him. And he totally deserves this as one of the best linebackers in football. Dude stepped in the league and dominated from day one. You'll get no pushback from me. Congratulations to Darius Leonard on getting to the bag in a major way. In case you missed it, Jags cornerback C.J. Henderson, potentially available for trade after being drafted in the first round of last spring's draft. That is rare that you see a guy that was drafted in the first round in the previous year's draft being put on the block a year later. It's mind-boggling. But what isn't all that strange is the fact that it's a brand new regime. Now, I will say this. Trent Baalke was here in Jacksonville last year when C.J. Henderson was drafted. So I'm not saying that he necessarily agreed with the pick, but he was a part of the brain trust that decided he was the best option at that particular pick. Now, the Jags had multiple first-round picks back in 2020 when they selected him. I believe they took him and K'Lavon Chaisson both in the first round. That said, they decided that C.J. Henderson was the better of the two players because they took C.J. Henderson first. Now, a full year later, they're deciding, maybe we made a mistake. Now, to me, the guy that is the variable here that changes everything is obviously Urban Meyer. I don't think Trent Baalke is bailing on a guy that he was a part of the brain trust that, brought C.J. Henderson to Jacksonville. I don't think he's bailing on him after 1 year. I think this is strictly an Urban Meyer type of move. Like, okay, I don't really like this dude. I got other guys here. Because remember, he went out in free agency and paid a bunch of money to your boy from Seattle. Oh, shucks. Can't think of his damn name. I can see his face. Anyway, he paid a bunch of money to the corner from Seattle. I don't know if Urban Meyer's a big fan of C.J. Henderson. And maybe he knows some things about C.J. Henderson. Remember, Henderson went to Florida. I'm pretty sure Urban Meyer still has some ties at Florida. Maybe there's some things he's already seen since becoming the coach that he doesn't really like about C.J. Henderson. And so he wants to move on, rid himself of him, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, he's reportedly on the block. And the Saints are reportedly interested in getting C.J. Henderson. That's another one of those teams that isn't opposed to trading away first-round picks because they expect to be good. So when you're a team that you think you're going to be good every single year, that first-round pick is going to be in the late 20s, early 30s. So you're like, you can have that. Give me the guy that I can get that can help me win now. And the beauty of this situation, if you're trading for C.J. Henderson, this guy's on a rookie contract. And not only is he on a rookie contract, he's got 4 years left. If you pick up that fifth-year option, he's got 4 years left on that rookie contract. So he's making peanuts. So it's essentially like you just drafted a guy, essentially. That's what you're doing. If you trade for him, you're spending a first-round pick to get a first-round pick. That's essentially what it amounts to. Without having to pay him for 4 years, it feels like you essentially just drafted this guy. And he sat out a year, and now he's ready to go in his second season. That's what that would amount to. So the Saints are like, hey, sign me up for that. So we'll see if that's what actually happens, but something's got to be off here. Why is he available? That's what I want to know. Something's not right with the organization, Urban Meyer, something there in Jacksonville isn't right, or something's not right with C.J. Henderson. Don't ask me, I can't tell you, but something's off here. That's all I know. In case you missed it, Russell Wilson putting the Seahawks to the test. So, Seahawks and Russell Wilson were at an impasse over the offseason. Russell Wilson said some things in the media that the Seahawks didn't love. And so there seemed to be a bit of a strained relationship. Pete Carroll and John Schneider were a little bit at odds with Russell Wilson. But then they realized, hey, what are we doing right now? We can't afford to be upset at our franchise quarterback because without him, we cease to exist. So let's fix this thing. And so they kind of got together, got on the same page. They went out and did some things that made Russell Wilson a lot happier. They sung Kumbaya, and all in the world is right. But I told you guys, I said, I don't know if we're out of the woods yet. And someone had reported, I want to say it was somebody from ESPN. It might have been Field Yates. Somebody reported a while back like, hey, shit might be sweet now, but I don't think we've heard the last of this Seahawks Russell Wilson saga. And I said, I don't know if it's over either. And now we're having a test. Russell Wilson's testing the Seahawks to see what they're going to do. You said you're going to take care of me. Now I'm speaking out. What are you going to do about it? So Russell Wilson is coming to the defense of one of his players. Dwayne Brown, who the Seahawks traded for about 2 years ago from the Texans, is now in the last year of his deal. He's slated to make $11 million roughly, a little bit over $11 million this year on the final year of his deal. He's not happy with playing on this last year. He's like, look, it's almost like a lame duck coach type of situation. I'm not happy with having 1 year left on my deal. I don't feel like I'm being properly compensated. I'm one of the best left tackles in the game despite my age. He is 36. He is 36. Let me say that one more time. He is 36 going into year 14 of his career. He is not a spring chicken. And that's what the Seahawks are looking at. Like, look, we aren't the Rams, okay? And he's not Andrew Whitworth. We're not going to keep paying guys that are pushing 40. We're not doing that. So he's going to play on this last year of his deal. We're not looking to tear his contract up and give him new money. Russ is like, look, man, I told you I needed y'all to protect me better. He's the best we got. He's one of the best in the league. I need him on the offensive line. I need you to fix this. So Russ is putting these boys to the test. He's meddling in business that the Seahawks are like, dude, didn't we have this conversation already? We don't want you speaking out publicly on matters that don't concern you. Let us handle this shit. Now you're putting us in an awkward situation. They already struggling with Jamal Adams. We're going to talk about that here in a second. We don't have any more money to be given to this dude. He got 1 year left. He's 36. Let him play one more year, and then he can get paid somewhere else. Russ is like, yo, y'all need to pay him. Shit could get ugly, man. I'm not saying. I'm just saying Russ is testing these boys. He's testing them. Are they going to pass this test? Or are they going to tell Russ, sit down and shut the hell up? And if they do that, Russ is then next year going to say, all right, I want out of Seattle. Y'all lied to me. Y'all told me y'all were going to take care of me. This is the best offensive lineman we have. That's part of my problem. I'm not being protected well enough. The best one we got is out here complaining about his bread and refuses to play, and y'all don't want to pay him. Y'all not taking care of me. We're going to see. It could get dicey in Seattle. Or, as a wise woman once told me, it could get really sleepless in Seattle. Did you see what I just did there? Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. In case you missed it, sticking with the Seattle Seahawks, since we're already there, Seattle finding it rather hard to find a common ground with star safety Jamal Adams. They're finding it rather difficult in contract negotiations with Jamal Adams. What did I tell y'all about a month ago? I said Jamal Adams is talking crazy. He's talking sideways out of his mouth. Shit don't even make sense. This man is talking about not being paid like a safety. He wants to be played like a defensive stopper. He wants to be paid like a game changer. Like, hey, I transcend the safety position. Don't put me in a box and tell me that I'm a safety. I'm a playmaker. That's how I want to be paid. Well, I look down the list of positions in the NFL. I don't see playmaker on the list. I see safety. That's your title. When you make the Pro Bowl, you don't make it as playmaker, you make it as safety. If I were to franchise tag you, you would be franchise tagged as a safety. That's what the Seahawks are telling him. You're not a playmaker, which you are, but you're a safety. And that's why we're trying to pay you like that, but we're going to pay you more than any other safety. He's like, that ain't enough. Uh-oh. See, this is why you got to know what you're trading for. Like, they just were gung-ho to give away 2 first. This is why they can't let him go. They're going to have to give in to this guy because you traded 2 first-round picks for him. And you just thought to yourself, oh, we'll be able to get a deal done with him. This guy's exactly what we need on this defense. Not knowing that the Jets said, hey, you have him. This dude is crazy. You should hear the numbers this man is throwing out. And the Seahawks are like, whatever he's talking about, we'll be able to handle it. Give him to us. And the Jets said, okay, here you go, 2 first-round picks. He's all yours. He's your problem now. And now the Seahawks are realizing, this dude is effing crazy. He's out of his mind. Do you hear the numbers he's boundying about? I don't know, man. The Seahawks are in quite the conundrum. You got to pay this guy over here. You can't let him walk. Can't let him walk. You give up 2 first-round picks. Can't let him walk. And then you got your left tackle over here saying, hey, this ain't enough, man. I got 1 year left. $11 million. I need more than this. I need reassurance. And Russ is like, hey, you better pay him. I don't know about Jamal Adams, but this dude that's supposed to be protecting my left side, my blind side, and you better pay him. Seahawks are like, oi. Could be sleepless in Seattle. Like I said, could be sleepless in Seattle. I don't know, but we will see. In case you missed it, Saquon Barkley back after being removed off the PUP list for the first time since tearing his ACL back in week 2 of the 2020 regular season. I was over there dancing. I was doing a praise dance on Twitter just 3 or 4 days ago when I heard, hey, right now he's targeting week 3 as his return. I'm like, oh yeah, praise God. You know, I'm over here dancing. Won't he do it? And then I get this news. Now, this doesn't guarantee that he'll be ready week 1 or even week 2. But if he's back practicing, there are no setbacks, and he's feeling good, he's going to be ready for week 1, man. I'm going to give you the same analogy I gave you last episode when I saw Michael Parsons. This is how I feel about Saquon Barkley potentially being ready for week 2 versus Washington. When Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime of the Bourbon Bowl and Coach Red Boyu said, shit, he showed up. I was looking forward to getting my Giants without Saquon Barkley or my Giants Saquonless. And look, I'm not afraid of this guy. We've shut him down before. But it just makes it that much harder to defend the Giants because one slip up, one guy out of position, one missed tackle, and he could take it 80 yards. I'd much rather deal with these subpar backs that I don't have to worry about breaking my back because I made one mistake. So, I'd really prefer this guy to not come back till week 3 like he originally planned. So, I'll be keeping my eye on that, but I'm not happy about it. In case you missed it, James Washington reportedly requested a trade out of Pittsburgh. Or did he? So, depending on who you listen to, if you're listening to Mike Tomlin, ain't nothing to see here, man. He didn't request a trade. I haven't heard anything about it. You know, and we're not going to be handling these situations outside with outside forces telling us what did or didn't happen. You know, your anonymous sources don't know what the hell they're talking about because James ain't came to me or anybody in upper management and said he wanted out. James is a worker. He's a good football player. We're happy to have him. He's having a tremendous camp. All the stuff you expect from Mike Tomlin when he gets defensive. My gut tells me Adam Schefter isn't wrong here, but James Washington isn't crazy enough to actually request a trade because he's James Washington. Now, it's not like the Steelers are doing this man dirt McGirt. They do have 3 receivers that happen to be way better than James Washington. Just in case you forgot, they've got Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, and they've got, what's my man's name from the MAC? The little short receiver, number 18. I always forget his damn name. Deontay Johnson, that's his name. They got Deontay Johnson as well. They got 3 guys that are better than James Washington. So, I don't blame them for him being where he is, but I understand where he's coming from. He's not going to get a lot of opportunities. He's not going to get a lot of tosses his way. And I think he is frustrated. I do think he wants a fresh start. Well, that fresh start is coming. You just got to wait. You'll be a free agent here shortly. I think he just wants to get that process started a year earlier, partly because he wants to get paid. And that's not going to happen in Pittsburgh because he's not going to give enough targets to show anybody that he's worthy of a big payday. That said, I don't think he's going to come out and demand a trade. I don't think that's what he feels like is going to be in his best interest, which is why I'm not sure that he's done it. I think you talk to people in his circle and they know, and they probably told Adam Schefter he would like a trade. I don't think he formally requested a trade in Pittsburgh, however. That said, he didn't request a trade, I don't think. I think Adam Schefter talked to some people in his camp being James Washington, and they're frustrated with his lack of opportunity in Pittsburgh, and they should be. But it is what it is. I saw Des Bryant post, hey, if you're out there and you want a stud receiver, you should trade for James Washington. Okay, if you say so. All I know is both of them went to Oklahoma State. I'm going to leave it at that. In case you missed it. Baker Mayfield says, Josh Allen's contract good for all QBs. Oops. And not oops because Baker said something out of line. Oops because I think Baker's essentially saying, yeah, he just pushed the number up for all us quarterbacks. If I'm the Browns, I'm like, it's a good contract for all the elite quarterbacks, which you don't fall in that category. So, no, you shouldn't be looking at that deal and thinking that that's a basis for what you should be getting. But hard to tell a quarterback that and his agent that, which is why I told the Browns if they were smart, they would get Baker's deal done first, because now what the Bills have essentially done is they've set the floor, and all these next quarterbacks are going to try to go above that floor that's been set, including a quarterback in Baker Mayfield who probably shouldn't be anywhere near that floor. But these are the type of situations that you get yourself into when you want to wait. When you wait, sometimes it's the best thing to do. Sometimes it's not the best thing to do. When you're talking about a quarterback, I always feel like it's best to get out in front. Like the Eagles did. Yeah, it backfired, and that's kind of probably what the Browns were looking at. Like, hey, we pay him like the Eagles paid Carson Wentz, and it turns out to be a disaster, which it could still be with Baker. We've got 2 good years, 1 really bad year. This next year coming up is going to be the one that pushes us in one direction or the other. If it's another stinker year, then we know, okay, now we don't really need to break him off. If he takes that next step, takes us back to the postseason, then yeah, we got the guy. Then we can break him off. Well, we'll see. I just know Baker's telling you how he feels, and I'm like, ouch. Browns are going to have to ante up. And if I were them, I would have gotten out in front of that thing. But they decided to wait. That is on them. So I got a couple of super chats. I'm going to go ahead and take these real quick. This first super chat is from my guy, John Livingston. Thank you for the super chat, JL Smooth. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JL Smooth writes, what up, Lou? It's 91 degrees in Buffalo with a heat index of 108. And all people say that it's cold out here. I'm sure you talked about it, but how do you feel about the Allen deal? I loved it. I loved it too. I talked about that on the last podcast. So if you want, check that out. It is there for your consumption. I love Josh Allen. I love the deal, and I thought he deserved it, and I was so happy for him. Thank you for that super chat, John Livingston. And it's like 93 here in VA, so where I am. So, yes, it's hot outside. It's hot outside. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American, writes, our team is being hyped up this season, but in your honest opinion, have they really looked improved in these practices compared to previous seasons? Practices, you don't really want to get hung up on practices. That's for the coaching staff to do. We'll start to really assess them during these games. That's when I'll start to look at them and see. On paper, yes, I feel like they've improved dramatically. They continue to take those steps. We still haven't improved greatly in the most important spot, which is quarterback. But looking at the quarterback situation last year and looking at it this year, with the addition of Ryan Fitzpatrick, you can't argue that we've gotten better. How much better? Is it significantly better? Yeah, he'll throw the deep ball. Everyone wants to harp on that. But how much better did we really get? We'll find out. We'll find out. I think I know, but we'll find out. But this roster is exponentially better than it was last year. Just look at the wide receiver position, and you can stop there. I mean, we had nothing at receiver other than Terry last year. Now we're talking about having to cut one or two guys that we'd like to keep. So, and that's not the only position either. So I do think this team is much better, but we'll see what happens. Got a super chat here from Gunny Man. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Gunny Man writes, NFL Network has Kelvin Harmon listed as number 2 receiver. Is this info valid or are they misinformed? I haven't looked at the depth chart. It's been released today. I'm going to do a full video on that in about 2 hours or so. I'll have everything you need. I'll break everything down and I'll let you know. I highly doubt that he's listed as the second receiver on the depth chart. From what I've heard, he's actually listed 4th on the depth chart. But I'll get to all the particulars and I'll let you know. Maybe he is listed second, as a second X on the receiver depth chart right now. That would be a revelation if that were the case. But we'll talk about it. So we'll see. Fat American, thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you for doubling up. Fat American writes, speaking of practices, are they better with Ron? Yes, the practices have been better. Remember, it was Club J, known for his lackadaisical practices with not a lot of contact and guys doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. That's no longer the case. Ron is practicing with tempo. That's what he's been preaching since day one. Guys are practicing the way that Ron wants. There was a practice last week with low intensity from the defense. Ron was not happy about it. He spoke to the team about it. They played and practiced a lot better the following day. So, yes, I would say that the practices have been a lot better. So we are going to now transition into our final segment, garbage time. And I want to play you a clip because this is going to kick off garbage time and transition us right into what we're going to talk about today. In case you missed it, Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas expected to miss the start of the season after having surgery to repair a torn ligament in his ankle. I didn't know that some of the injuries from last year was going to spill over into this year for Michael Thomas. That situation in New Orleans seems a little bit off. Would you agree with that? Like, the guy, he barely played last year. There were rumors that he wanted out. He didn't refute those rumors. You felt like, okay, shit, you barely played last year. All right, get all the shit you need to get fixed in the offseason. Be ready for the start of camp next year. Feel like he's had enough time to get all this shit done and be ready? I don't know that man's body, and I told you I don't like to play the injury game because I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. But it just feels like Michael Thomas is kind of like, it's kind of like I'm not going to go out of my way to make sure that I do everything I can to help this organization out. And it kind of all coincides with him getting that bread. He got paid that astronomical contract, and it seems like shit hasn't been right since. We'll see. I could be way off base with this. Guy can't play if he's got an injured ankle. He had surgery on it. Now he needs to heal. I may be way off base. He may come back, tear shit up like he never left, and the rest is history. But it just feels a little off right now. Some of the decisions he's making, some of the decisions they are making, it just feels like they're not on the same page. I didn't think we would be having this discussion about Michael Thomas potentially not being ready for the start of the season due to an injury that lingered from last season. I didn't think that would be the discussion, especially after the man barely played last year. So, I don't know. I digress. So I don't want to spend too much time on this because we've already talked about this, but I told you guys back on my birthday in July that this situation feels weird, like something's off. There was no way Michael Thomas was supposed to miss any game action this upcoming season. This kind of feels Scottie Pippen-ish when he decided, I ain't missing my summer for the Bulls. F that. They don't want to pay me. I'm not missing my summer. I'm going to have my surgery when the summer's over. And if I got to miss half the season, so be it. They need to trade me because they don't want to pay me. Michael Thomas consulted a second opinion after the Saints team doctors told him at the end of the season, you need to have surgery on your ankle. He consulted a second opinion. That doctor said, hey, I think you can actually heal this up with rest. That doctor was wrong. Michael Thomas opted for surgery just, I'd say 3 weeks ago, to which ESPN reported, among other outlets, that I think it was Ian Rappaport, matter of fact, that he's going to miss 4 months with this injury, and he's not going to be ready until October at 100%. If all things go well. Sean Payton's obviously irate and not happy about this. He, was asked about it and he said, yeah, when that news first broke, I thought he'd be ready I didn't think he'd miss any time. I thought he'd be ready for camp. That's pretty disappointing because, we were ready to rock and roll with him in the lineup. Everything that we've done is set us up with him in the lineup. Now he's not going to be there potentially for the first half of the season. That's pretty disappointing, especially knowing that he needed to have surgery and he waited this late to have surgery. So then you get the report. So we go through the timeline. I just kind of told you what happened. He got hurt first game of the season against Tampa. He was never right the whole season. All right, so you get to the end of the season. He needs ankle surgery. He decides to seek a second opinion. Team doctors for the Saints on that exit interview tell him you need to have surgery on your ankle. He decides to have a second opinion. That second opinion doctor says, hey, you can heal up with just rest without surgery. He tries to go that route, realizes once camp gets there, doesn't feel right, I need surgery. Has surgery in the summertime in July. Now the time frame for healing is 4 months, which is going to put him in October. He's in a tough spot. The Saints are in a tough spot. The Saints then leak information to the media that, hey, we were calling this dude for 3 months in the offseason to try to see where he was with his ankle. He didn't pick up. He ghosted us. Michael Thomas's response on socials is, oh, they trying to, dog me in the media, but I'm not going to respond. But you see how they trying to do me, essentially, is what he said. Paraphrasing, of course. Sean Payton was asked about the tweet from Michael Thomas on socials, and he's like, look, I'm not having a press conference about social media. But essentially, he's saying, what you want me to say? It's true. He ghosted us, and then he dicked us by having surgery in July when he could have had it in February and been ready. I'm telling you right now, the situation with Michael Thomas is not right in New Orleans. It's not right. But I'm going to throw it out there. I don't know how this ends, but it doesn't seem like it's going to end well for the Saints. Michael Thomas, ever since they paid him that money, shit hasn't been right for him in New Orleans. I'm just going to leave it at that. John Perez with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, John Perez. Greatly appreciate you. My guy John Perez writes, could Jamin Davis be a defensive rookie of the year candidate? Absolutely, he could, for sure. But we'll see. I don't want to put too much on his plate. I don't want to start talking about defensive rookie of the year, this, that, and the third. Let's just see what the kid can do, and let's see how he fits in the defense first before we start talking about defensive rookie of the year and this, that, and the third. Let's just see what this guy, let's just make sure he's comfortable at middle linebacker first. Got another super chat from Fat American. Thank you for your third super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Fat American, who writes, oh, I remember now. Did you hear how FedEx Field was vastly improved in the practice fields? You think that has contributed to the lack of injuries? It could. It doesn't hurt, that's for sure. I heard FedEx Field looked pristine at the Friday night practice that they had last week. And Ron made it a point of emphasis when he came in to change the practice fields, to put in new sod and grass at FedEx Field. And so everything he's doing is a winning strategy. Everything he's doing is helping build this thing the right way, including down to the fields that were a mess before he got here. What took them so long to fix this? It's crazy that Ron had to come along and fix it, but I'm glad it's fixed, no matter how we got to this end conclusion. So I do think that has contributed to a lack of injuries, but let's keep our fingers crossed that the injury reaper is busy off somewhere else and leaves us the hell alone. So thank you for that super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Fat American. Got another one here from John Livingston. Thank you for the super chat. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, JL Smooth, who writes, do you think Lamar deserves more than Josh? It's definitely debatable. He has won an MVP. I say no, but I could see it going either way. I've talked about that already on the last podcast, JL, so you need to check that one out. But I can tell you this, it's debatable. I feel the same way you do. It is debatable. I don't know if you can definitively say he needs to be paid more than Josh Allen, but the argument can definitely be made. And I made that same argument on the last show. So again, go check out the last episode. I think we spent the first 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes talking about Josh Allen's contract after I finished talking and running my mouth as I customarily do. But I can tell you this much. If he got paid more than Josh Allen, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to sign a 6-year contract extension like Josh Allen did. I think Lamar's deal is going to be more along the lines of 4. So the numbers may not be as astronomical, but what we'll be looking at is per annual average salary. And that's what we'll look at. And, of course, guarantees. Is the percentage of the deal as high as it was for Josh Allen, who got the most guaranteed money in NFL history? Will it be somewhere in that neighborhood? Those are the things I'll be looking for, because I don't think he's going to sign a 6-year deal like Josh Allen did. I think it's going to be more along the lines of Dak Prescott in a 4-year deal. That's what I'll be looking for. So we'll see what happens with that situation. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I told you I was pressed for time, so I got to get out of here. But I really do appreciate you guys chopping it up with me here on the Louie T Network podcast. We had some chicanery and tomfoolery throughout the episode. I really appreciate y'all sicking those people, getting them out of here. And mods, if you're out there, I really appreciate y'all. This is why I need more mods, so that people like that don't get to do what they did today. But with that being said, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, I want to thank you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And there are only 53 likes. 130 of you are out there. Shameful, guys. Let's get that like count up on the way out to at least 70. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T, saying I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for joining me.